This video has been sponsored by no one. Learning and getting better at a fighting game can seem pretty daunting. I don't just mean things like learning unfamiliar motion inputs or coping with losses. I also mean when you look at high-level play of fighting games and see crazy stuff like this. It makes sense that the best players of any fighting game will pull off some of the most impressive plays in that game, whether it's an incredible comeback, a well thought out play, or a clutch reaction. However, reflexes and reaction times can be measured and vary from person to person, whereas it's a lot harder to measure one's ability to make comebacks or dodge fireballs. It can be demoralizing seeing a pro player with seemingly inhuman reflexes, as you might attribute their skills to them naturally having faster reflexes than you. As a result, this can lead to a mentality of thinking that you need to have fast reflexes to be good at fighting games.
You gotta have really good reaction speed. Whoa!
I say this because I used to have this mindset myself, and I wanted to make this video to help other players that might be thinking the same thing. Before I start, I'd like to clarify that you don't need to be good at a fighting game to have fun with it. Some of the most fun I've had with fighting games in recent memory has been by going into training mode and learning combos with Robo Fortune, Base Vegeta, and Captain America. Now, if I actually played against other people in Skullgirls, Dragon Ball FighterZ, or Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I'd probably get absolutely smoked. My point is that even if you don't think you'll ever be good at fighting games, that doesn't mean you won't ever get any enjoyment out of them. With that cleared up, let's answer the question: do you need fast reflexes to be good at fighting games? Let's start by addressing what most people probably imagine when they think of fighting games and good reactions: the cool looking moments. These are the ones that make your jaw drop, the ones that make the crowd go wild, the ones where the player reacts incredibly fast and busts out their strongest move, winning the round and maybe even the game. As cool as these moments are, they all have one thing in common: the reacting player used their strongest move. Whether it's a rage art, a critical art, or an ultra combo, these moves can't be used often, since you can only use them when you've taken enough damage or built up enough meter. Neither player is going to begin a match with these resources, and sometimes players don't even get a chance to use them.
Yeah,
Please
tag him in.
him.
Bruv, you're done.
That's not going to whip, right? Nah, it's going to hit. It's literally the whole screen. Wow.
What I'm trying to say is that these hype moments with super moves happen a lot less frequently than you think, so you're not expected to be making these clutch reactions in every match you play. So okay, these kinds of moments don't happen all the time, but I'll never be capable of doing those kinds of cool things because my reflexes aren't as good as other players, right? Fortunately for you, that's not necessarily true. In each of these clips, the reacting players weren't just reacting to something that came out of nowhere. They each had a good understanding of what their opponents were capable of doing in those situations, and what they were likely to do.
You know that Blanca players are just gonna do full screen ball because they can make it safe, right? He activates. The most obvious thing you could do here is Blanca ball.
For example, in this clip, Daigo does standing heavy punch, cancelled into the medium version of his Ryu Sokyaku move, then crouching medium punch cancelled into the light version of his Tatsumaki Senpukyaku move. Doing crouching medium punch after the medium version of Ryu Sokyaku is a one-frame link. To cut a long story short, this just means that it's difficult to do. If you time it right, you get a combo and it should look like this. If you don't time it right, you drop the combo and are left wide open, which is what happened to Daigo.
Huge. Oh, big drop! What a punish! How can you be so ready now?
Momochi was most likely aware of how difficult this combo is and how vulnerable you are if you drop it, especially when you consider that Momochi also played Evil Ryu. With this knowledge in mind, all he needed to do was wait and see if Daigo would drop the combo, in which case he would punish Daigo with his most damaging option at the time, his Ultra Combo. Now technically, Momochi didn't need to react here. If he repeatedly did the input for Ultra Combo whilst he was getting comboed instead of waiting and reacting, he would get the same outcome. However, if a competent player anticipates this, they can bait you into throwing out the Ultra Combo and then punish you. In the end, Momochi chose the more difficult but smarter option, and it paid off. This didn't happen because Momochi has faster reflexes than most people. This happened because Momochi had played the game enough to be familiar with this situation and knew what to do in case Daigo didn't complete the combo. Now, you might counter by saying that pro players like Momochi do have godlike reflexes, and show something like this as proof. To that I say, this was not a reaction, this was a buffer. A buffer is when you do an attack and input another move immediately afterwards. If the first attack touches the opponent, then the rest of the attack's animation is cancelled and replaced with the second move's animation, as long as the first move can be cancelled. If the first move doesn't make contact, the second move does not come out. This happens because in most fighting games, missing or whiffing a move forces you to wait until the move's animation finishes before you can act again. If you do 2 inputs in quick succession, only the first input will come out. By doing a buffer, it means that on hit, you can deal more damage than you normally would by just doing the first attack, whilst not putting yourself at excessive risk if the first move doesn't make contact. To go back to the example with Takido, he does standing light kick and buffers it into Ryu's critical art, Shinku Hadoken. Momochi happened to get hit by this light kick, and so Shinku Hadoken came out. If this sounds difficult to you and you're feeling put off, you can opt for a less damaging but easier buffer, like buffering standing light kick into EX Hadoken or EX Tatsumaki Senpukyaku instead. It deals far less damage, but it only costs 1 bar of meter instead of 3, and it still knocks the opponent down. If you don't like the idea of buffering at all, just know that you don't need to learn buffering to play Ryu in Street Fighter V. It's just a piece of advanced tech. Anyway, some of you might be wondering, what if Momochi had blocked the hit? Wouldn't he end up blocking the critical art as well? Well, Momochi literally ran into the light kick. He was in the middle of Ken's running animation and couldn't block until the animation ended, so he got hit. This does, however, raise an interesting point. What do you do if the move you want to buffer into isn't safe on block and can be punished? And what do you do if you're at a range where your normal is guaranteed to make contact? Well, you have 2 options here. The first option is to only buffer into moves that are safe on block. The second option is to do a hit confirm. Hit confirming is a technique where you throw out an attack and confirm whether the move hit the opponent or was blocked. If it hits the opponent, then you do the input for the move you want to cancel into. If it was blocked, don't do anything else. Doing hit confirms instead of buffering means that you aren't limited to moves that are safe on block. If you're good at hit confirming, then it doesn't matter how unsafe a move is when blocked, because you'll only use the move when the opponent isn't blocking. Now, hit confirming is more challenging than simply buffering, since you have to actually pay attention to whether or not the first move hit the opponent and react accordingly. You can't just go on autopilot like with buffering. However, hit confirming is often more rewarding than buffering. For example, Ryu can buffer crouching medium kick into Hadoken for damage on hit, whilst still being safe on block. If you hit confirm into Tatsumaki Senpukyaku instead, you deal more damage, knock the opponent down, and depending on which version of Tatsumaki Senpukyaku you used, you push the opponent towards the corner, switch sides with them, or get a chance to use Shinku Hadoken for huge damage. Due to its rewarding nature, hit confirming is fairly common in high-level Street Fighter, whether it's Karine confirming her crouching medium kick into her Tenko special in Street Fighter V, Evil Ryu confirming a crouching medium kick and Hadoken combo into an FADC in Street Fighter IV, or Chun-Li confirming crouching medium kick into Hoyoku-sen to take off 45% of your health bar in Street Fighter III Third Strike.
Oh, here you go. He's got a credible overhead low for the second one.
As you can see, a lot of hit confirming is done with crouching medium kicks. As I mentioned before, hit confirming is more challenging than buffering, but it's not so difficult that only the best players are capable of doing it. It just takes a fair amount of practice to get it consistently, just like how learning combos and setups takes practice. If you still don't like the idea of hit confirming, then you'll be pleased to know that not every character requires you to learn how to hit confirm. Guile in Street Fighter only has a handful of special cancelable moves, and all of them have very limited range, so he's not really designed for hit confirms. Instead, his far-reaching, non-cancelable normals and his fireballs make him more suited to keeping his opponent away from him and chipping away at their health. This isn't just limited to Street Fighter. Potemkin in Guilty Gear has far-reaching normals, but his special moves are so slow that he generally can't convert these far-reaching normals into a combo. Instead, His main strategy is getting close to the opponent and erasing almost half of their health bar with a single Potemkin Buster. Why waste time do hit confirm when big grab do trick? What I'm trying to say is, the importance of hit confirming varies from character to character. The picture I've painted so far is that having fast reflexes is very important in fighting games, whether it's being ready for your opponent's slip-ups or beginning your offense with a fast reaction. However, fighting games aren't just about reactions. For every hit confirm or punish, there is something that is difficult or downright impossible to react to on a consistent basis, or just impossible to react to at all. EX Bull Revenger, Greed Sever, Triangle Jump mix-ups. If you want to make the argument that you personally can react to all of these things, then I'd also like to mention that there are some things that are physically impossible to react to, namely command grab supers. Although they have a unique animation to show that they've been activated, you generally cannot jump, backdash, or do anything to escape command grab supers on reaction to them, since they hit you on the very first frame of their animation. In other words, they come out instantly. Unless it's like command grab supers in Dragon Ball FighterZ, where they're slower and can be evaded on reaction. My point is that command grab supers that come out instantly can only be dodged if you're outside their range, or if you did something like a jump or a backdash preemptively before the move was performed. This might sound like reading the future or being psychic, but it's just more situational awareness.
Not enough. Oh, wake up, demon! Oh, no, he called it out again!
I touched upon this earlier when I was talking about Momochi reacting to Daigo's dropped combo, namely how Momochi had so much insight about evil Ryu that he was ready to punish Daigo here. This was situational awareness, seeing what's happening on the screen, knowing what you and your opponent's characters are capable of, and knowing what you should or shouldn't be doing. Thankfully, not all situational awareness is as specific and complex as Momochi's example. It can be much simpler and more common, like frame data for example. If you block an opponent's move and you know that it is plus on block, you know that you probably shouldn't attack immediately after blocking it. If it's minus on block, you know that you should probably go on the offensive. For a different example, and for the sake of anyone who doesn't understand frame data, there's Leo in Guilty Gear Strive. Fighting Leo can seem very daunting at first, mainly because of the numerous ways he can open you up. He's got an overhead, a low, a cross-up, a command grab, and 2 different projectiles, one of which he can use to continue his pressure. On the surface, it seems like defending against Leo is impossible, since the way that you must defend is different for each of these moves, and he could use any of these at a given time. At least, that's what it looks like. In reality, Leo can only use his overhead and command grab when he's in his Brynhilde stance. When he's not in this stance, his only options are a low, his cross-up attack, and his projectile. Even then, he can be thrown out of his cross-up attack on reaction, and you can interrupt his slow projectile with an attack. This means that if Leo is not in his Brynhilde stance, all you need to do is block low, be ready for his cross-up, and maybe look out for the odd throw. Now, I should clarify that knowing all of this information won't guarantee you a win against everyone who plays Leo. Fights aren't just decided by attacking or defending, they're also decided by the neutral, which is another aspect that situational awareness applies to. Your neutral is shaped by what you think is effective against your opponent's character and what isn't. If your character has a projectile and you know that your opponent's character struggles to get past projectiles, you know that you can throw out a lot of projectiles against them. If your character has a move that is unsafe on block, but your opponent's character can't punish it, you can just throw that move out. Neither of these things take any quick reflexes or amazing reactions. If you know that they work, you can just do them. Your knowledge and understanding of characters not only gives you a better idea of which moves are most effective against certain characters, it also gives you a better idea of which of your opponent's moves you should be looking out for. To illustrate my point, I'd like to bring up the video Reacting in Fighting Games by Press Button Win. In this video, they explain that as you play a fighting game more, you gain a better understanding of what a character does and what to look out for in different situations and at different ranges.
For example, from around a character length away, Ryu could throw a fireball, he could jump at me, and that's kind of it.
Let's apply this idea to the command grab supers I mentioned earlier. As terrifying as they may be with their instant startup and huge damage output, your opponent isn't going to use one if you're out of range. Instead, they'll be more focused on getting into range or using whatever strategy is most effective at their current position. These are the kind of things that you should be anticipating and reacting to the most, the moves and strategies that your opponent is most likely to use. Of course, it takes time to learn what each character on a roster is capable of, and what they are most likely to do in various situations. This is the main point I wanted to make about reflexes and fighting games. When you're a beginner, you're not going to react to stuff quickly because you won't know what to react to. In other words,
reacting in fighting games seems hard at first because you don't know the game, so you have no idea what to look for or focus on.
It's not that you need fast reflexes to be good at fighting games. You develop fast reflexes by learning more about the game, knowing what to look out for, and being ready for those things in an actual match. You're not expected to be good at these things at an entry level. Just like learning combos, it takes time and experience. You don't need to play the game for 10 hours every single day. Just keep putting in time, have fun with the game, and you'll gradually get better. Who knows? With enough time, practice, knowledge, and awareness, you might make some hype plays of your own.